Do you want to play as a cyborg or a biohacker or somebody from cyberpunk as a playable character in D&D? Well, Dungeons & Dragons is coming out with an updated version of the Artificer to make sure it keeps up with everything that happened in 2024. And I feel like there's not enough subclasses out there for the Artificer, so I homebrewed one. So in this video, we're going to walk through everything that I homebrewed for the Artificer subclass, and I tried to make it as balanced as I could, so that way it wasn't some crazy overpowered subclass, but hopefully I didn't fail there. And this whole thing actually happened because a member of my Discord actually reached out and said, hey, did you see that D&D Shorts video asking for homebrews for an Artificer? And I hadn't seen it, and I checked it out, and I thought it was a great idea. So I really wanted to make one of my own, but I already missed D&D Shorts' deadline, but I didn't want to have it go to waste. So here we are. And this Artificer is going to go in a bit of a different direction than Artificers have ever gone before. So first things first. What makes an Artificer different than every other class in D&D? They're infusions. They're all about tinkering and making magical objects or enhancing existing objects. They have things like enhanced defense, where they can boost up armor with a +1 or a +2 when they're much more of a high level in Artificer. Same thing goes for weapons, or maybe they just straight up make magical objects like Goggles of Night, where they can get some night vision, or a Belt of Hill Giant Strength to really boost up your strength stat without worrying about putting points into it from your ability scores. So I wanted to take that core idea of what makes an Artificer different and really incorporate it directly into the Artificer themselves. With the homebrew subclass I came up with, the Artificer of Self Modification. So whether you wanted to turn yourself into a cyborg or implant objects of magical creation into yourself, enhancing your arms, your legs, your torso, or even your eyes, whatever you want, it all gets exemplified with this subclass. Now I came up with a subclass specific spell list that gets added and all the features that happen at 3rd level, 5th level, 9th level, and 15th level of being an Artificer. And if you want to follow along in this video, great. But if you want to help support this channel and have access to the versions of character sheets that I add up on my Patreon, that would be awesome too. I'd really appreciate it. But let's dive into the subclass, starting with the subclass spells that you get from becoming an Artificer of Self Modification. And that gets exemplified by the first 2 spells that you get from your 3rd level in Artificer, because Artificers are half casters, so they have a slightly lower level of spell casting. So at 3rd level, you only have access to 1st level spells. And you're going to get Longstrider, which is just a way of you enhancing your own speed, getting 10 feet faster. And the idea of dashing through somebody and hitting them very suddenly feels like a boost to your speed and striking out at somebody. And I think the best way to do this is with Zephyr Strike. Then when it comes to that 3rd level feature, I called it Living Weapon, because this is basically going to be the answer to what would happen if you wanted a monk and made them more of a cyborg or intelligence focused class, because they already did it for every other class at this point, because you get unarmed fighting as an option for fighters and paladins and rangers if you want. They obviously have the basic monk, which is just a wisdom and dexterity focused class, or they recently had the dance bard, which is a charisma and dexterity focused class, really focusing in on unarmed strikes and unarmored defense, all utilizing dexterity and charisma. So to answer that, I have this feature. And Living Weapon first gives you unarmed strikes. And this is going to follow the same pattern as a monk, where your unarmed strike damage die increases, getting a d6 of damage at level 3, a d8 of damage at level 5, a d10 of damage at level 10, and then a d12 of damage at level 15. But because the idea of this subclass is all about creating objects that you are putting into your arms or your legs or your torso, it's more focused on your craftsmanship and what you can create and the quality of the magical objects that you're implanting. So because of this, instead of going with the monk or the dance bard route, where the attack and damage rolls use your dexterity modifier, I'm going to have it use your intelligence modifier, because it's really about what you're making. Similarly, you got to get some unarmored defense. So where the monk gets unarmored defense equal to 10 plus their dex modifier plus their wisdom modifier, and the dance bard gets it to be 10 plus their dex plus their charisma, we're going to go with an unarmored defense where your armor class equals 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your intelligence modifier. Then the final part of the living weapon feature is self modification. So any infusion that you can make, you can now apply directly to your body. Your limbs count as simple weapons, which you can apply both infusions to, such as the enhanced weapon or radiant weapon infusions, and they count as simple weapons for the effect of certain spells. For example, like using the True Strike cantrip, which would require an actual physical weapon. Now you can apply that to your unarmed strike. Similarly, your body counts as armor. So now your infusions like enhanced defense can apply directly to your body. This encapsulates the entire concept of this subclass right from the get-go. And so we gotta kind of stick with something pretty basic at 5th level with extra attack. With basically what we need. We're going with an unarmed striking type of artificer, and it's going to be fun to play around with, but it's not going to be nearly as fun if you can't at least get 2 punches in. But also at 5th level, you get access to 2nd level spells as an artificer. So the 2 spells I added to the spell list for the subclass are Kinetic Jaunt, which just enhances your ability to move around. So the infusions and the inventions that you're improving yourself with, they're now much quicker and easier to respond to you. So you're able to move around much quicker with Kinetic Jaunt. But I also wanted a way that you can charge up a punch to hit even harder with some sort of blinding, intense damage. I was tempted to go with something as simple as Divine Smite, but Divine Smite just doesn't work because it's the idea that it's divine damage. It's something coming down from a god or some celestial divine creature. That's not what we want. So I'm going to go with Shining Smite instead. And this is also because my favorite Gundam of all time is the Shining Gundam. So I wanted that shining finger attack, and this was one of the few ways I could pull that off. It gives you some boosted radiant damage to a strike that can be your unarmed strike now, because now all smites can apply to unarmed strikes thanks to the updates in 2024, and you can have advantage on all of your attacks against that creature going forward. Then once you get to 9th level of Artificer, you get access to 3rd level spells. So we want to have a way to boost up our speed again with Ashardallin's Stride. This is basically you having a jet engine blast out of your back, just kicking you into overdrive, boosting up your speed, but Ashardallin's Stride also leaves a trail of fire behind you, dealing damage to your enemies. Similarly, because we're so focused on boosting your general capabilities and your speed and just enhancing yourself, we're also going to grab the spell Haste. And Haste is the perfect example of enhancing your own body. It gives you a +2 to armor class, it gives you double movement speed, advantage on dexterity saving throws, and you get an entire extra action which you can use for 1 attack or anything else you can use an action for, except for any casting of a spell. They made sure that you can't do that because that would be really broken. But still, the enhanced abilities of Haste are pretty exemplary of what this subclass is supposed to be able to do. Also at 9th level of every Artificer subclass, you get another feature. And I was a little stumped here, actually. So I actually reached out to my personal D&D group that I play with, and my friend Terry came up with an idea that worked so insanely well that I was just so ecstatic, and I thank him so much for the idea. It really helped. And this 9th level feature is called Battle Modes. So I absolutely love this idea, and the way it works is you can activate a battle mode as a bonus action. You have a number of uses of this feature equal to your intelligence modifier because it's all about the durability of your creations, so I didn't want to tie it just to your proficiency bonus. The uses of this feature recharge on a long rest, but you can activate a battle mode as a bonus action, choosing one of the 2 battle modes. And then every bonus action going forward, you get some sort of thing you can do with that battle mode, or you can spend your bonus action to change battle modes instead. So the 2 battle mode options are the Protector mode, which is much more about protecting your allies. This makes it so every ally within 5 feet of you has every attack against them at disadvantage. So you're just trying to block any attacks that are coming their way, and it can really help them out. But artificers do have a lower health pool than a lot of other D&D classes. So to mitigate this, every turn while this mode is active, you can spend your bonus action to gain some temporary hit points equal to 1d8 plus your intelligence modifier. And you can do this every single bonus action if you want. But if you want to use your bonus action to switch to a different battle mode, you can do that. And remember, you only have 1 minute for this battle mode to be active. You can keep switching battle modes every time, but you're using a bonus action to do that every time, and you're giving up part of your action economy to wind up switching it in the first place. So you want to get the most out of this 1 minute as you can, even if they do recharge on a long rest. And the other battle mode you can switch to, or activate in the first place, is attack mode. So the thing you get automatically every single turn while attack mode is active is you can have advantage on one attack. But attack mode also has to give you something for your bonus action, and that's an additional 1 attack. Because we had to level things out, since having martial arts as a monk always gives you at least 1 bonus action attack for free, even if we're not getting, flurry of blows or anything like that, but we have plenty of spell casting to make up for it. And even the dance bard has ways to use a bardic inspiration, which also allows them to get an attack in. So having a bonus action attack that they can do while their attack mode is active seems pretty fitting, and I really love the general feel of this. Then once you hit 13th level of being an artificer, you get access to 4th level spells. And so I chose 1 more defensive spell and 1 more offensive spell. The defensive spell is you essentially rebooting, whether it's nanobots going to work to help bring you back to life, or it's just straight up like the Terminator in T2 rebooting and coming back. You want to have a second chance, especially since artificers have that lower health pool. So we want to grant the spell Death Ward, so that way you can go down to 0 hit points and not get killed outright, because Death Ward saves the day. However, for the offensive spell, I leaned a little more into the Shining Gundam with Fount of Moonlight. This essentially has your entire body glow, as if all of the technology that you have implanted into yourself all starts to glow with magical energy as it all charges up. You do additional radiant damage with every single attack that you do, and you can use your reaction to blind enemies trying to attack you. I just kind of wanted another shout out to the Shining Gundam, but at the same time it does still work for this subclass. Then instead of jumping into the 15th level feature that you get from this subclass, I want to cover the last spells you'd get at 17th level, which is 5th level of spell casting as an artificer. And these are purely offensive at this point. So for those spells, I wanted some way to dash all around and hit everybody all at once, just attacking with an absolute fury of damage and speed that is incomprehensible. And the best way to pull that off is with Steel Wind Strike. This does a bunch of damage, it attacks a whole bunch of people in an area, and it's you actually striking out at them. And then the other spell I want to grab is if you took your fist and you charged it up with everything you got, and you just unleashed the biggest, strongest punch that blasted them into oblivion and straight up just knocked them into another dimension with Banishing Smite. Does a whole bunch of damage, and it can banish them to another plane of existence. But going back to 15th level, the feature I wanted to grab, something that was very hard to not make broken, but I think I did the best I could. I called this feature Overcharged Body. This allows you to draw the energy from every magical object you've implanted into yourself and overcharge all of it. It is the pinnacle of your craftsmanship and the enhancements that you have put into yourself. You are the most overcharged cyborg. You are dumping all of the power you can from all of these magical objects directly into your body to get insane power. So as an action, you can push yourself beyond your limits and cast haste on yourself. But there's something a little different about this haste. Because 1, you can cast it for free. 2, it doesn't have the downside of haste, which can possibly cause exhaustion at the end of it, and that's the biggest downside of haste. It basically turns you into berserker barbarian, and everybody hated that for the exact same reason. But the other most important part of this feature, beyond casting it for free and beyond not worrying about exhaustion, is that it doesn't require concentration. Now, you can only do this a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier per long rest, but not requiring concentration for haste, so perfect for this subclass, because haste is the perfect exemplification of what this subclass is supposed to be able to do, giving you a bonus 2 to your armor class, giving you double movement speed, giving you advantage on dexterity saving throws, and even giving you an extra action that you can spend on an additional attack or whatever you want to spend an action on. But again, you still can't use spellcasting for that extra action. However, since I specified that this is you casting haste on yourself, that means that you can't double cast haste, which would be super broken because you don't want +4 to armor class, 4 times your movement speed, and just a whole bunch of extra actions. We don't want that. So having haste be specifically stated in this feature means that you can't be under the effect of the same spell twice. But if you wanted to mix haste with other boosting effects, you can do that. Like if you want haste active, but you want Fount of Moonlight active, you can do both at the same time. This feels like an absolute perfect capstone for this subclass, and I was really happy that it worked out this way. I'm super thrilled about how this entire subclass worked out as a homebrew. I was pumped about making this video, and I am absolutely thrilled to share it with everybody. If you want access to a more broken down version of it, I will put it up on my Patreon for everybody to access, and I really appreciate all of the patrons over there that help support this channel. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, let me know by hitting that like button, and I'll be here helping you roll at least 3 nat 20s in your next D&D session, especially if you want to play as the Terminator or a Cyborg or somebody from Cyberpunk doing self-modifications, or even if you're going weird with body horror or something. If you want to play this subclass, I hope you roll 3 nat 20s, and I'm just happy to share it with all of you. So thanks for making it all the way here, and I hope you play it in your next session of D&D.